who really needs no introduction, Mr. Frank Zappa. Does the mic work, Frank?
Let's hope this microphone is working tonight.
The microphone works,
hey,
Frank.
Good God, let's do it. Start off with the first record right now. Hello there, boys and girls. You've just heard Bang Bang Lulu by, what was that guy's name? Alex Tyrell?
Yeah.
Alex Tyrell doing some real bona fide semi-smut reggae music, an album that I picked up in England. And then you heard Joe the Grinder by the Hawks on Imperial. And following that, you heard Earth to Buffalo by Ruben and the Jets, their new album. And you are now going to hear a song that we performed as an encore at the famous Fillmore East concert, where we had a jam session with John and Yoko. He came on stage with us after our show was over and sang this song. And I didn't know where he got it from, and it was pointed out to me sometime later that it was originally recorded by The Olympics on the Demon label. And the name of the tune is Well. Take it away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have just been listening to Lou Ann by Little Sunny Day and the Clouds on Tandem Records. And prior to that, what do we have over there? I'll see the list here. Tell Me Darling by the Gaylarks on Music City. Going Down to Tijuana by Andre Williams on Fortune. And Low Ridin' Cruiser by Ruben and the Jets. And now, a public service announcement.
We've been listening to Frank Zappa, and we will hear more gems from Frank Zappa's own collection right here on KMET Los Angeles in just a moment.
Did you know that more whales were killed in the past 10 years than ever before? Did you know that nearly all great whales are extinct? Well, they are. Please help save the remaining great whales. To learn how, write to Project Jonah, Box 476, Bolinas 94924, California.
This has been a community service of KMET. Our public service hotline number is 932-6288.
Okay, you've just heard Louisiana Blues by Muddy Waters, and give me that sheet so I can tell you what else just went by. This is Frank Zappa, ladies and gentlemen, being a guest disc jockey on KMET. Before that, you heard...
Right here.
Whoops, that one. Hey, How's Your Bird by Baby Ray and the Ferns.
Tell them about that a little bit.
Okay, this was one of the early records that was recorded by Ray Collins and myself at a place called... Well, at that time, it was called PAL Studios at 8040 Archibald Avenue in Cucamonga, California. And later on, it was called Studio Z after I purchased it from Mr. Paul Buff, who ran the studio. It was a famous studio in those days because 2 million selling records were cut there, of which How's Your Bird was not one. The two that were cut there that sold real good were Wipeout and Pipeline. Wipeout was done in one take. They didn't have a very big studio budget, and they may have had a little bit larger budget for Pipeline, but I'm not sure. But anyway, in those days, which was approximately 1964, Ray Collins, Paul Buff, and myself, and sometimes with the aid of Ronnie Williams, would get together in the studio for hours and hours on end and put together records that we thought would definitely be hits. We thought that the world really needed to hear stuff like How's Your Bird, and so we would spend all this time making these recordings and intricately overdubbing them and putting sound effects on and everything. And then Paul Buff would put on a straw hat, some red socks, and a vest, which he thought was the way he looked best as a businessman. And he would go into Hollywood, where he had connections, and he would go in and talk to big producers like Bob Keane and Art LeBeau, and he even knew Jim Economidis at Capitol, and that's the places where we would go to shop our masters around. We would go in and say, hey, we've just recorded this, as a matter of fact, just last night, and we have this hot record, and how would you like to put it out on your label? Because, see, we didn't have a label or anything. We needed the assistance of the larger, well-established people like Bob Keane and Art LeBeau and Capitol Records. So anyway, I remember one time we went into Hollywood from Cucamonga, and it used to take a long time to drive in. It was a big deal to go to Hollywood. And we went to Capitol Records to play Jim Economidis some thing. I forget what the name of the tune was that we were trying to hype him on. But he was busy. He was in the mix-down room working on something that he knew was going to be a hit. And we sat there and watched a real Hollywood mix-down. Jim Economidis was sitting there actually telling an engineer to put more bass on the recording of Little Surfer Girl by the Beach Boys, and simultaneously trying on clothes from a guy, I think it was from Cy Amber. A salesman came up there with a plastic bag full of slacks and sports shirts and stuff, and he was over in the corner changing his clothes, getting ready for something he was going to that night, and looking over his shoulder saying, "No more bass, no more bass." Anyway, that's what it was like in the olden days. That's the kind of world that produced a song like How's Your Bird with Baby Ray and the Ferns. And now we're going to hear something that is very unusual. I think it's probably the first time this record has been played in Los Angeles, or maybe even the Western Hemisphere. Could you hand me the cover, please? Now, the name of this group, ladies and gentlemen, is the Shaggs, and the name of the album is Philosophy of the World. And I'll try and describe the cover of this album to you so that you can get the drift. The Shaggs is a three-piece group. They're girls. It's a power trio, sort of. They're all sisters. They are wearing very conservative clothing, and they have long hair, which is apparently freshly shampooed in this somewhat greenish color photograph on the front of the cover. And there is a large girl seated on a drum stool, posed delicately in front of a hi-hat cymbal. Her foot is on the pedal of the cymbal. And right in front of her, obscuring her reproductive organs, is a snare drum which is tilted at apparently a very incorrect angle. Making it difficult to do fast licks, but she won't need them. And then over on the other side of that is a floor tom, fairly large floor tom, with the rivets showing from where the formica is wrapped around the drum. Hovering over the floor tom is the tallest of the sisters, and she is playing some sort of extravagant Japanese import guitar, of which the other sister, she has a matching one on the other side of the cover. And I'll read you some of the things from the liner notes. Here it is. The Shaggs, Philosophy of the World, and then there's a little R, which means registered, on Shaggs, which is spelled S-A-G-G-S. I got this from a FM station in Boston. Can't remember the name of it. I don't know how I managed to escape with it because it's so priceless. But here's the pitch for the Shaggs, folks. It says, the Shaggs are real, comma, pure, comma, unaffected by outside influences, comma. Their music is different. It is theirs alone. They believe in it, live it. It is a part of them, and they are a part of it. Of all contemporary acts in the world today, perhaps only the Shaggs do what others would like to do, and that is perform only what they believe in, what they feel, not what others think the Shaggs should feel. The Shaggs love you and love to perform for you. You may love their music or you may not, but whatever you feel, at last you know you can listen to artists who are real. They will not change their music or style to meet the whims of a frustrated world. You should appreciate this because you know they are pure. What more can you ask? ? Betty, Helen, and Dorothy Wiggins are the Shaggs. They are sisters and members of a large family where mutual respect and love for each other is at an unbelievable high. They study and practice together, encouraged and helped by those around them. Betty, Helen, and Dorothy live in a small town in New Hampshire in an atmosphere which has encouraged them to develop their music unaffected by outside influences. They are happy people and love what they are doing. They do it because they love it. Now we're going to play a couple of tracks from the Shaggs LP. I want you to notice that this group, to my ear, sounds like the missing link between Fanny and Captain Beefheart and his magic band. The first selection is a great tune called My Pal Foot Foot. Take it away.
Some toys can burn, cut, or scrape a child. As the holiday season approaches, the Consumer Product Safety Commission has made available a toll-free number you may call for information or questions. The number is 800-638-2666. That number again, 800-638-2666.
This has been a public service of KMET. Our public service hotline is 932-6288.
Yes, it's Halloween, and that was the Shaggs, spelled S-H-A-G-G-S. This may or may not be available in this part of the world. It's on a label called, what is this?
Third World.
Third World, yeah. 3W, Third World Productions, Jamaica Plain, Boston. And as I said before, this is Betty, Helen, and Dorothy Wiggins. They are the Shaggs. They are definitely serious. It's a highly evolved girls group, a power trio. And now we're going to hear from Richard Berry.
This is KMET in Los Angeles. We're listening to records from the private cache of Mr. Frank Zappa. And Frank, tell us what we heard.
You've just heard Smokey Joe's Cafe by the Robins, When We Get Married by the, forget what they're called, wait a minute, oh yeah, the Dreamlovers, Next Time by Richard Berry, and you also heard The Big Break by Richard Berry, and It's Halloween by the Shaggs.